men's movement with our host, Dr. Jack Rocco. Dr. Jack, how are you? And I'm just intrigued by how you found this person, but you have that Pittsburgh sense that
Oh
we
yeah, we
six
can.
degrees of we
Yeah,
can
we
just find each other. And two
we
Pittsburgh
talk
guys are going to find the best people. That's how
we
it is.
we talk to everyone and
Yeah.
anyone and that works out. No, I met Dr. Gilda through LinkedIn, and I swear it was the universe who sent her to me because we're building this men's clinic, we're building this men's movement podcast, and fundamentally at the base of the clinic is the fact that over the years we've all lost people. We've all lost brothers in arms. And I say it's from my experience, there's three ways that guys leave us. They off themselves, number one. Two, they just engage in risky behavior, driving fast, drinking. Or three, the one that I find most upsetting is they just neglect themselves, neglect their health, neglect their wellness. And over the years, I think we've all lost guys. And that's one of the big motivating factors for starting the men's clinic because men don't go to doctors. They're just so reluctant to, and they neglect things and they think they can handle it, but then things get out of control. So, anyway, so I'm looking on LinkedIn and Gilda shows up with her book, Real Men Don't Go Woke. And I start reading some of the excerpts and ideas of it. And it's exactly what I've been talking about, but it's even more powerful coming from a woman because a lot of times you don't get that same sympathy from women. So anyway, so I run into Gilda Carle, Dr. Gilda, and I'm going to introduce her right now. And she's a fantastic person. Since we first met, I've been doing some driving back and forth to North Carolina, and we spent about 4 or 5 hours on the phone. 2.5 hours the first time we spoke. 2.5 hours. We just couldn't stop. I had to stop and pee and get gas. And I'm like, give me 5 minutes, I'll call you back. And she's been great. Dr. Gilda, she's the New York Times busiest telephone therapist, TV's #1 talk show therapist, and a business and relationship strategist, coaching from the boardroom to the bedroom. What a great introduction. With 19 books and 5 million fans worldwide, Dr. Gilda Carle delivers tough love, wisdom, and unforgettable Gildagrams. Welcome, Dr. Gilda.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jack. It has been a pleasure to meet you. You came out of the woodwork. I get a lot of invitations on LinkedIn from a lot of different people from all walks of life and from different countries. And I go through, who is this person? Who is this? And I've gotten amazing, different, crazy offers. And most of them I'm not interested in because my interest now is very specific. I've been writing for women for years. Publishers always told me it's not the men who are going to be reading self-help books. It's women. So talk to women. And I've been on daytime talk shows and news shows for years and years. And people recognize me and they trust me. And I've been product spokesperson and I've done a lot of things where I'm out there in the public. But there was a missing link. When I was the love doc for MTV, for example, the women, young and old, would come to me and they'd say, but I gave him everything and he still dumped me. And I said, that's the problem. So I started writing different books for teenage girls. I started writing columns for various places and teen magazines in the days that teen magazines existed before they were online. So this goes back many years. And I found more and more that I wanted to get women to understand that you cannot put out your body, your gifts, all your things, and say, but I gave him everything, because ultimately, what did you give yourself? And so I wrote this book called Don't Lie on Your Back for a Guy Who Doesn't Have Yours. And the English was even crazy. But I came up with this idea that a guy has to have your back. And women at first didn't even understand that because it was a concept that was so foreign. But then I started doing research and I recognized men can't have your back if they don't have their own first. And then a bolt of lightning hit me. And I was told, I got words from the universe, from God, from wherever, that you better write for men now. And it wasn't going to be a self-help kind of book. It was going to be a book that I don't even know. It's a men's health book. It's under the classification of men's health because I didn't want to be preachy and teachy. I wanted to spill the guts. And since I write for tabloids and since I'm interviewed by tabloids all the time, I pulled people's names who are very familiar. Will Smith, so many actors who have gone through this. And then men have come up to me and said, you talked about the men who are depressed and are on antidepressants. That meant so much to me because I wasn't alone. Who gave them this information? Nobody.
Yeah.
So I wrote this book, and you put something out into the universe, you don't know what's going to happen. It could be bomb. It could be very successful. So here I am. I'm talking to you guys about it now.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the stats that you found, Gilda, as far as men, as far as suicide rate amongst men? And I appreciate you, when we talked about this podcast and the movement, I wanted this to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room that no one talks about, but I wanted to talk about it because that's ultimately what our goal here is, to get guys healthy, to get guys into a group, a men's clinic where just men can go and feel comfortable. But what are some of the stats with regards to suicide in men versus women?
The most interesting thing, and I put it on the back of my book cover purposely so that this could be in their faces, in everybody's faces. Men are an endangered species, I wrote. They are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than are women. And then we can talk about the decreasing testosterone and the thinning of the Y chromosome and so many other things, depression and the loneliness, all of that is skyrocketing. And men don't know what to do and where to go. Young boys, we know, are sitting in their parents' basement and either smoking grass or vaping and watching porn, and they cannot have good sexual relationships because of that. And they tell me, and it's in the book, that once they got off the porn addiction, they were able to have good relationships with women. It's all a fantasy. It's the smoke and mirrors that I always quote from the tabloids, that we are all accustomed to wanting and thinking is the norm. And that's not the norm at all. And
No.
so the women go in, I know what you're doing at your clinic. I think it's wonderful. And I'm so impressed with who you are, where you came from, and the depth of vulnerability that you had to go to find where you've come to at this present time. You are light years ahead of men about your age. You are light years ahead of a lot of the men who are suffering so badly and just leave their suffering. You have decided to do something about it.
Yeah, thank
Is
you,
the
Gilda.
answer, you're very welcome. Is the answer in penis enlargement, breast enlargement, facelifts? Is Botox, is the answer in that? Ultimately, it contributes to feeling better about ourselves. But ultimately, if you can't be emotionally intimate with yourself, you ain't ever going to be emotionally intimate with another person.
Wow. And I wanted to go to the new movement that men are dealing with. And you talk about in your book, in your name of the book, I'm going to bring up someone out there that is very controversial, Andrew Tate, who's gone, and what's happened with Andrew Tate. Okay. And so the
We
Tate
had
brothers,
this conversation
the,
2
the,
days
the,
ago.
the Tate brothers. And I looked at a lot of the things, and I think that he's right about certain things. And
I
I'm
agree
not
with you.
talking about with the women. I'm talking about we are in the matrix. And are we going to follow the matrix, or are we going to be different because there's going to be survival of the fittest, how men are going to survive, or anyone's going to survive this new push of AI and everything that we're seeing, and that you got to roll up your sleeves and work a lot harder and be a real man for what's happening? Because are you going to be a follower that just works for somebody, or are you going to be an innovator? So that's one thing I agree with Andrew Tate. Some of the other stuff, the true background, just like the background of Donald Trump, just like the background of Vince McMahon. Yes, they did some amazing things, but yet as people, we're not going to talk about that. We're just talking about the message. Then there's the other message that Andrew Tate brings that really can make men feel bad, very horrible about themselves. So what is your take on that whole Andrew Tate movement and this Netflix show that was on about the kid who killed because this girl was bullying him? I forget the name of that. All these different things are coming out.
Yeah.
It's these things have been coming out for a long time. I'm in the media. I report on these things. I am commenting on these things. And this is probably the first time on any kind of televised product that you will hear a woman say, I agree with Andrew Tate in some of the things that
Some
he
of it.
says.
Yeah.
There are not many women who are going to say that. But let me tell you this. A man walks out of the door and he's immediately called toxic. And what is happening now? And don't think it's not filtering down to young boys. He's immediately called toxic. Where does he go with that? I was just channel surfing and I saw a college boy and a college girl having a conversation. And his buddies were kidding around with him and teasing him. And she said to him, why don't you stand up for yourself? And he replied, when I do that, my girlfriend calls me toxic. This is college. And I was just,
Oh yeah, and also
channel
that when
surfing.
men overreact and be men, we're considered we are too aggressive, or we need to we need to change.
I have news for all of you guys. Women don't want wimpy men. I don't care what the woke people are saying. So what happens? It's a law of physics. Here's the woman. Here's a man, and he's called toxic. Where does he go with that? The pendulum swings in the opposite direction, and he becomes woke. That, in my definition, and I know I'll get back to that for a moment. And what woke is spineless, voiceless, and keeping everything inside. So here is this kid, this college kid, who is going through this bullying or this teasing that's really affecting him. And what does he do? Shuts up. He stays silent. And I have information in this book about men who stay silent. That is not an answer. Because what happens is that we internalize our emotions. Unlike what Dr. Jack did, he threw it all out there. He put it out there on the page. This is what I went through. This is how I suffered. This is what I had to deal with. And most men are not willing to deal with anything. So this young man is standing there, and it was the girl who said, so why don't you stand up for yourself? And he was worried about his reputation with his girlfriend. And I have to ask, why did you choose this girlfriend rather than a girlfriend who loves you and supports you? Because we have not trained our men how to select mates.
No, you're
That's
right.
true.
On my website, there's a place. People come to me from all over the world. Some of them run countries. Some of them run companies. Some of them are just average guys, but they come to me with the same exact problems. You internalize, return to the point that you are so internalized that eventually it eats at you and there's nowhere to go but suicide. We have got to end that.
That's
And
powerful,
women
Gilda.
have a lot to do with it too. And I don't let women off the hook in this book.
What role do you think? That's very powerful what you say, and it resonates in my spine when you speak about it. But the whole idea that the number one, I made a rule, like a top 10 list, the number one rules for the ultimate men's clinic. And number one was women choose, men compete. And I think that's the environment that we grow up in, whether it's right or wrong, good or bad. But it's always been that a girl likes you, a girl passes you a note, a girl's friend says she wants to ask you to the dance. You're like, okay. Most guys are flattered by that and jump on board with it. That women do choose, it seems, they choose a sexual, I think they have a lot more to do with sexual selection than men do.
Ultimately, yes.
Yeah,
They
and then the men compete for this, the pretty girl, the cheerleader girl.
prize.
Exactly. But men don't, if a man pursues a girl, he's being too aggressive. He's being a pervert. He's being a whatever. There's some bad labels. If you're, leave me alone, this guy keeps stalking me. But a girl can stalk for, I remember when my son was like in the second grade, second or third grade. And we were at like a little birthday party. And this girl was literally chasing him around. And it's even at that young age.
Yes.
It was,
Even at that young
very
age.
obvious, and no one would correct her. If a boy were to do that with a girl, he would be immediately grabbed, thrown into a corner, thrown into the car, brought home. You don't do that to girls. But the girl could chase him around all day, and I felt bad for him. Dude, come here. What's the matter? Who's this girl? It's
Well,
sad.
you raised the question about nature versus nurture. And we talked around it. We need another 1,000 hours to be.
This is a short podcast, but yes, we're gonna.
Oh, too
definitely-
bad.
No, but you're gonna come back on. I know you will. I know we're gonna be connected in some way, Dr. Gilda. You've seen two Pittsburgh men that are no longer in Pittsburgh and are dominating the world. There you go. That's
Yeah,
it.
I love
That's
it.
Dr. Jack and I. Go ahead.
And what's more, Neil, you're not afraid to admit that. God bless you both. I think that's remarkable because what the culture has done was to push men into these little containers where they can't be aggressive, too aggressive. And I'm not talking about beating women over the head and
No.
doing P. Diddy actions or Harvey Weinstein behaviors. They're all in the book. But I am not talking about that at all. I am talking about speaking your truth. And look, I'm single now, and I go out with men of all ages, and I am looking to find truth. For some reason, the culture has acculturated men to think that they don't speak, they don't explain, they don't talk about their histories. I was out with one man, very attractive pilot, had traveled the world, and I was just getting to know him. And I said, tell me, you've been married twice. Tell me about your first wife. Tell me about your. And he said, we were married. That was the end of that. The second, I married somebody else again. And that's the last time I will ever talk about my history. And I said, that's the last time we are going to see each other. Because if you don't talk about your history, what do you learn from that?
But see here, Dr. Gilda, I'm going to
hearing
jump
about-
in when I was in the dating pool. If you do that, then that's the red flag, and then you're off the list because you've gone through those certain things. And Jack would say that as well. Now I'm with somebody now, so that doesn't matter. But before that, when I was in that dating till I found my someone, I mentioned any of the things that happened previous. It ended up being the red flag that ended it. Mostly.
No, Neil, I think Gilda, you're unique.
Oh, thank
This
you.
is one of the things that we laughed about on our 2-hour conversations.
We laughed so hard.
I would say something just to piss her off, like with the attempt to piss her off. Gilda, what do you think about? And she's like, oh yeah, you're right. She took my blows in stride and didn't get defensive and understands and we talked about this a lot. The whole idea of men being in touch with their feminine side, women being in touch with their masculine side, and not taking and I think both of us do this, Gilda. We both live in the middle somewhere. I'm a guy and I know what I think, but I also understand what women. I mean, in my profession, I just finished with 2 years of liposuction. 95 or more % of my patients were females. So I've been in intimate doctor-patient relationship with men and women, and with couples, and you see the interaction between couples. So you do start to understand both sides just based on my profession. I see it I've got women asking me about sex. I got men asking me about sex. When can they have sex? All these things. And so we get it. We're in the middle. But it seems like everybody else in the world, and especially this world we live in now, is so polarized. If you're Democrat, you got to be really Democrat. If you're Republican, you got to be really, everything is pushing your feeds, your algorithms, everything pushes you to the edge, to the right or the left. But understanding both is very difficult, but it's essential for those relationships to really flourish.
When I wrote this book, when I wrote Real Men Don't Go Woke, I knew I was setting up a polarized equation there. And there were people who came after me saying woke means, because I could trace the time that these people came up with this definition. It was right after Jane Fonda announced woke means loving everyone. No, that's not what woke is all about. Woke is the opposite of toxicity, where men have found their silence. And that creates a boggled up mess inside them that they cannot communicate. And if you're not communicating honestly, that's that word truth again. Truth and trust in every relationship are major components. And people don't want to go that far for fear that they will be cut down, they will be cut off, they will be castrated. And women have got to do something about this too. Women have got to present a safer space for men to be able to express how they actually feel.
As this is the Ultimate Men's Movement podcast, Dr. Jack, I didn't know that we would have such an entertaining conversation because I trusted you saying, okay, this is the guest we have. Okay, great. We need to have a part 2 as a producer of this show because we have to lay things out more. There's so much controversy coming, Dr. Gilda, but let's just get how can we help you? How can the Ultimate Men's Movement help you with your book, sharing your book, all those different things?
Set up book clubs, make this, when I wrote it, I visualized making this mandatory reading in schools, in secondary schools, in colleges. I want men to be aware of the interpersonal relationships that they're responsible for, but I also have, especially the end, one of my Gen Z guys said, oh, that end, just put it all together. Where the woman, I quoted from a movie, where the woman said, and she left her husband, she left him, and the woman said, I couldn't be there for you because I wasn't there for myself.
That's a great point. Gilda, we're gonna have Real Men Don't Go Woke on our bookshelves at the Ultimate Men's Clinic. I'll get me a case of your books, and we'll put them out here. We'll sell them for you because I do want this to be a safe place. I want the Ultimate Men's Clinic to be a safe place for men to come and straight talk, just straight talk. And I would say it's not about the little head, it's about the big head primarily with men. The men's psyches are fragile and need to be focused on because we have been beaten down and no one feels sorry for us. But we're going to have you back, Gilda. We're definitely going to have you back.
I'll make sure we make that happen.
We've got to really rein this in. You're going to be one of our frequent flyers over here. I'm sure about it.
If you want, Jack, I'll do one better. If you want, I'll come down to up to the clinic, across the world to the clinic, and speak to the men individually.
Oh, excellent. All right.
I mean, speeches.
Yeah. Okay. It's the best place, Dr. Gilda. Where can we go for the book?
Oh, it's on Amazon.
Show it again.
And come to, pretty good, Jack, and come to drgilda.com, drgilda.com, and you'll see all the things. There are some unbelievable testimonials from some men. One man said he couldn't take being called toxic anymore, and he became non-binary. Another man said he just happened to get this book at the time that his woman left him. His job disappeared and his investments evaporated. And all of a sudden, he wanted to commit suicide. He said, this book helped me not. commit suicide. That
God
is
bless
so
you, Gilda.
Absolutely.
God bless
Awesome.
you. What you're doing. You are saving lives. So thank you so
I
much.
hope so. This
We
is
appreciate it.
my
Thank you.
mission now. I
Right.
love men. Come here for my
Ah.
progeny.
Great.
All right. Okay, that was the special simulcast. Oh yeah, go to theultimatemensclinic.com in Bedford, Massachusetts, and go see Dr. Jack. He's
New
available. New Bedford.
The
Yeah.
whaling capital.
Okay, so I don't know that area. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks again. You're listening to the special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show, and the Ultimate Men's Movement, guys. Take care.